everyone, welcome. As we all know, a terrestrial ecosystem is a land-based community of organisms and the interaction of biotic and abiotic components in a given area. Part of the terrestrial beings are us, humans. What are the impacts of the activities we make on our land? Do we do good or harm? First, let us know the two biogeochemical cycles that occurs on our land: the sedimentary cycle and the phosphorus cycle.
Biogeochemical cycle tied with land reservoir. First is the sedimentary cycle. The sedimentary cycle happens because of weathering of rocks, which releases sulfur, arsenic, iron, and other more earthbound components. But before that, why does weathering of rocks happen? Well, weathering of rocks is commonly generated due to the effects of shifting temperatures on rocks, as well as the assistance of water, causing physical weathering which leads to the rocks to break apart. Next, where do the weathered rocks come from? Well, it comes from the Earth's crust, which serves as a repository for the sedimentary cycle. Lastly, why is the sedimentary cycle important? Well, it is important because it drives nutrient cycling such as sulfur and phosphorus cycles to happen due to the weathering of rocks, followed by the erosion of minerals from it, their transport and deposition, and their burial.
The second biogeochemical cycle is the phosphorus cycle. It is the process by which phosphorus moves through the lithosphere, the hydrosphere, and the biosphere. Phosphorus is essential for plant and animal growth, as well as the health of microbes inhabiting the soil, but it is gradually depleted from the soil over time. Phosphorus is a key component of the sedimentary cycle, serving as an energy source in the form of ATP and as component of nucleic acids. Moreover, it is involved in the metabolic reactions that include the release of energy from food and the use of that energy in the various body functions. It is also used by plants in metabolism and then passed on to heterotrophic species via the food chain, which is then decomposed by microorganisms, thus releasing phosphates into the soil and making them available to the plants once more. Phosphorus cycle is a very slow process. Various weather processes help to wash the phosphorus present in the rocks into the soil. Phosphorus is absorbed by the organic matter in the soil, which is used for various biological processes. Since phosphorus and phosphorus-containing compounds are present only on land, the atmosphere plays no significant role in the phosphorus cycle. Let us have a brief look at the phosphorus cycle and its steps. Number 1. Weathering. Phosphorus is found in the rocks in abundance. That is why the phosphorus cycle starts in the Earth's crust. The phosphate salts are broken down from the rocks. These salts are washed away into the ground where they mix in the soil. Number 2. Absorption by the plants. The phosphate salts dissolve in water are absorbed by the plants. However, the amount of phosphorus present in the soil is very less. That is why the farmers apply phosphate fertilizers on agricultural land. Number 3. Absorption by animals. Animals absorb phosphorus from the plants or by consuming plant-eating animals. The rate of phosphorus cycle is faster in plants and animals when compared to rocks. Number 4. Return to the environment through decomposition. When the plants and animals die, they are decomposed by microorganisms. During this process, the organic form of phosphorus is converted into the inorganic form, which is recycled to the soil and water. Soil and water will end up in sediments and rocks, which will again release phosphorus by weathering. Thus, the phosphorus cycle starts over. Now that we know the two biogeochemical cycles, let us learn what can invade them.
As human society has become more mobile, the transfer of species beyond their native ranges has similarly increased. These non-native species, better known as invasive species, include plants, animals, and other organisms that are not indigenous to a particular area. Invasive species can cause great economic and environmental harm to a new location, and some of these are brought to a new area on purpose. An example of this are human-induced biological invasions, which now occur around the world and are a leading cause in the loss of biodiversity. In the case of the Arctic, while only few invasions are currently known compared to lower latitudes, changes in climate and patterns of human use are likely to increase the susceptibility of Arctic ecosystems to invasion. Much of this increased risk of invasion may come from increased shipping, energy development, mineral exploration, and associated shore-based developments such as ports, roads, and pipelines.
Since invasive species are said to be foreign to a certain system, will it have an effect on its epigenetics? What is epigenetics?
We will now proceed with epigenetics, which is the study of hereditary changes in human species. These changes are reversible and they may alter the DNA sequence, and they mostly affect the gene activity and gene expression. The way genes bring about the phenotypic effects. These epigenetic changes are influenced by our environment and lifestyle. Examples of the behavioral or physical activity that can influence epigenetics is your diet, what you eat, whether you're eating healthy or whether you don't have food most of the time, and it also depends on the alcohol consumption. How physically active you are and how much you smoke are also one of the examples of behavioral factors. Examples of environmental factors that can influence epigenetics are exposure to air pollution, organic pollutants, and exposure to toxic arsenic. Your lifestyle, such as your working habit or how much stress you have been gaining, also has its own epigenetics. Aside from behavioral and environmental factors, your epigenetics change as you age. It first begins before you're born, and as you grow older, these epigenetics determine which cells would have which functions. As your behavioral habits affect epigenetic changes, you will have a different epigenetic change in the future compared to what you have right now.
We now know the two biogeochemical cycles, namely the sedimentary and phosphorus cycles. We also learned what invasive species are and what are its effects on the epigenetics of a certain system. Let us now move on to the anthropogenic effects, also known as the human impact, to the sedimentary and phosphorus cycle.
Sedimentary cycles have long been significant as one of the earth's biogeochemical processes, but as time goes by, this natural phenomenon has been influenced by a lot of anthropogenic activities associated with agriculture, construction, and mining. Humans are important agents in these cycles, but there's a limit to what we can only observe. These excess anthropogenic disturbances that we do modify the Earth's natural processes, some of which are the agricultural practices which resulted into the increase of continental denunciation, or the stripping of the Earth's soil through irrigation, landscape modifications and conversions, which affect the rate of natural erosions, and the release of toxic chemicals and materials such as man-made pollutants and heavy metals that affect the organic soil and rock agents in the cycle as well as in nature.
Unlike some other compounds of matter cycles, phosphorus cannot be found in air in the gaseous state, since phosphorus is usually liquid at normal temperatures and pressures. It is mainly cycling through water, soil, and sediments. In the atmosphere, phosphorus can mainly be found as very small dust particles. A pro to this is due to the limited availability of phosphorus in the environment. Plants have evolved strategies to conserve phosphorus taken up from the soil. On the other hand, some cons include the amount of phosphorus available for biological uptake is small, which limits productivity in many terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems. Another is human interference in the phosphorus cycle, such as through phosphorus pollution of water bodies by sewage discharge and drainage from agricultural land can contribute to the growth of toxic blue-green algae, fish death, and reduce the quality of affected water bodies.
The world is rapidly and significantly changing due to many factors. To preserve our land, we must be responsible of every action we make. Change should start from within. The question we must always ask ourselves, am I invasive?